Hello, star people. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Chrys King. I'm a shamanic healer, psychic medium, astrologer, ascension guide, and creator of the Medicine Alchemist and Ascended Astrology. I assist awakened souls, light workers, and starseeds like yourself heal, connect with spirit and star beings, create 5D businesses, and ascend the false matrix. And this podcast will take you on a multi-dimensional journey through the world of shamanism, ascended astrology, UFOs and starseed contact, conspiracy theories, or should I say truths, and the multi-dimensional nature of reality, with the intention of bridging the gap between 3D and 5D so that we can ascend the matrix together. And my guest today is Lindsey Scharmyn, a transformational spiritual teacher and channel with a decades-long record of guiding people into soul-centered, joyful, and fulfilling lives. Through deep spiritual mentorship, channeling of higher selves and divine guides, past life readings, karmic integration, sound and energy healing, blessings, and sacred retreats, she helps people awaken to their true essence, activate their spiritual gifts, and embody their soul's purpose. Like myself, Lindsey is a light worker who identifies as a shadow worker, and the following conversation contains subject matter that, while important to bring to light, may be disturbing to some listeners. Our intention is to bring awareness to these subjects, not to create fear, so we ask that you witness this conversation with an open heart and mind, and we thank you for letting us share our truth. Thank you so much for being here for Ascend the Matrix podcast. I have an amazing guest. Her name is Lindsey. Welcome, Lindsey, to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Chrys. It's awesome to be here.
Yes, it's awesome to have you here. Our journeys are very similar. The work we do is pretty similar, even though the sprinkles on our cupcakes may be totally different colors or a different flavor. The cake is the same. It's ascension, it's healing, it's moving people into deeper connection with their higher self and embodying more of that. So I feel very connected to the work you do after looking through and really tapping in. I said, we're basically on the same mission. So I want you to share with my audience about yourself, because I'm always curious and they're always curious, because we've got everyone from the just awakened to the almost ascended master, listening to this type of podcast. So many of them may be at the beginning phases of their journey, and it's helpful to hear how people who have stepped into this the way you have, where you came into it, what was your experience like, because they will find nuggets of goodness in it and also pieces of themselves in it, possibly to help them feel like they're not crazy, they are on the right track. Maybe all this insanity I'm going through at this time is actually leading toward me having an incredible business where I'm serving others. It can go that way. Okay, so share with us your journey and how you got here.
Wow, it's a long, long journey. And honestly, it starts in some of the darkest darkness we could muster up. And
Do you
my
want to go
childhood,
there?
what's that?
Do you want to go there?
I'm happy to go there. Actually, I don't like to like dwell and just get done, in that, but I also like to acknowledge the darkness, because I think so many people who come into this spiritual path, they find a lot of the what I call like the pathologically love and light, which is great too. I think it serves a purpose, and there's also something in it that alienates a huge amount of people that are also having really profound spiritual
That's
understandings and
right.
awakenings, but they also have all this darkness, and they're like, well, then what am I supposed to just pretend this away? And it's like,
That's right.
no, I don't think you're supposed to pretend it away. And I think there's some of us who are sort of shadow workers more naturally,
Yeah,
and maybe it's those of us who have really been
absolutely.
confronted with some of that darkness. So I appreciate that on your show and in your work, you also have space for the darkness. I think a lot of people need that on their path. But I had a really rough childhood. My father died when I was young. Before that, he was a severe alcoholic. I was very unstable. Not, there wasn't physical abuse, but it was just neglectful. And it was, a lot of trauma for young kids to deal with. So there was a lot of that. And I mean, I was like this bright ray of sunshine. And like, I just came in knowing like, oh, I mean, you guys don't know about God, or like, you don't
Yeah,
understand this
right.
stuff. I was kind of
Yeah.
confused why the adults were so weird. And so I had all of that, but it was just kind of like almost smashed out of me. And by the time I was 11, 12, I just went hard into drugs, into just like anger. I hated God. I would say, like, if God exists, F that guy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what is all of this garbage? And I had just become disillusioned with everything. It wasn't just the trauma, it was, the school system was very clearly flawed. The people who were supposed to be our teachers and leaders were clearly didn't even like us, and like some of them were great, but a lot of them weren't. And so I just started seeing all these holes in society and in adulthood and humanity. And I was like, I can't deal with this, right? So I went dark into the darkness and had a really rough time there. It took me a long time. And even through those times, though, and I think a lot of us can relate to this too, it was like sprinkled with little moments of remembering, like, oh, yeah, there is something way bigger than this, way beyond all this, something that very few people, if any, have ever like connected with me on. Right. But that my higher self, my guides that I didn't know I had at the time, right, are still like calling me back, reminding me, like whispering in my ear, pushing me out of the way of the oncoming car, all of those things. And by the grace of God, I got through all of that. And I think it is literally by the grace of God. I think also it's the deepest desire of my heart was always been to help people and to serve humanity and, to come here in this time for this upheaval we're all going through now. And so
Mm.
somewhere in me, I knew all of that, and I just had to like climb through. I was tortured when I was a child, serially tortured by a sadist dentist. So that also got deep in the guts there. And I talk about my father dying, I talk about the alcoholism and that, but it was actually this torture that really did it, right? But that was even deeper. I almost forgot it happened because no one paid attention, right? They were
Yeah.
like too
Yeah.
poor and too hurried and too worried to like what, you're hurt? Yeah, no one likes a dentist. Like, shut up, just,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I guess everyone goes through this every
Can I
time. Like,
tap in a little bit deeper
yeah.
into that? And
Uh-huh.
only because curiosity doesn't always kill the cat.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this dentist was a sadist.
Yeah.
And can you go into what you mean by that, other than
Yeah.
just liking to cause pain?
Loving
But
to
like,
cause pain.
was this something he'd done to many people? And this
Yes.
is, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. So I was serially tortured. Many others I later found were also serially tortured. My brother and my sister went to the same dentist, weren't tortured. They got Novocaine,
Oh,
and nobody likes that
wow.
part much either, but like they didn't feel everything. I felt
Yeah.
everything. I
Oh, I'm
never
so
got Novocaine.
sorry.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
Novocaine existed until I was like 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had lots I
I'm
had
I'm I'm
more.
sorry to even put this into the field, to be honest, but it's what's coming up. Only because I know the systems that are in place, these satanic things that are
Mhm.
going on in the world, and how these certain people who work for certain organizations will find their way into therapy offices, doctors' offices. It's even if they're not directly a part of it, it's almost like there can be an entity possession or something where there's this not just torture of anyone, but also the torture of children.
Children. Yeah.
Yes.
And specifically in this case, it was always, from what I can tell from the people I found who had experienced the same at his hands, the youngest female child of a either single mother, or in my mom's case, like my dad was absent, right? So not technically, but like realistically a single mother. So he knew exactly who to target
Well,
to.
but that feels purposeful in these Freemasonry, Illuminati, satanic sorts, Luciferian organizations. There are these sort of bloodline familial rules: firstborn male, lastborn female, this sort of thing.
Yeah, that's
And so I'm leaning into, maybe he just liked to cause pain, but also I've noticed, Lindsay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the things that we see humans doing that are just atrocious, much of it is not coming from the human part of the brain, it's coming from the reptilian part of the brain.
yeah.
And that
Well,
there might be something working on another level that we're not aware of, masquerading as other humans, so we turn on each other. and don't see who the real perpetrator, or what Carlos Castaneda called in, or the guy in that book called the predator.
Mm.
So I I am tapping into that because many of us light workers, star seeds, like the house I grew up in, before my parents renovated it, and this is before I was born, they still live in it. There was 666 written above the bathroom door. There
Oof.
were blood marks and neckties tied to bedposts in the furniture that was abandoned. There was a dog in there feeding off of itself because it was starving. There was just this dark energy
Very dark.
that I was born into, like born
Wow.
right into that house. And so all the things that were going on in that house, no wonder, right? The
Yeah.
things that I'd been through. But it's almost like, even if it isn't direct, it's like the ones of us that are really meant to step into this choose family lines where we clear that, but then we somehow find our way into the world and start to target some of the densest, darkest things that
Yes.
happen. I mean, not because we deserve it, or the spiritual bypassing technique of just, if it happened, it was meant to be. It,
Yeah.
I actually want to take our power back and make it feel like we chose it to dismantle it
Yes.
without ever saying that that should happen to a child, but that since it is happening on this planet, we chose to participate in it to dismantle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of it's happening for a reason, we can hold that without it being discarding the fact that it caused trauma and pain,
Horrible trauma. Yep. And that it shouldn't
horrible
happen.
trauma and pain.
Yeah. Not appropriate. Not, yeah, totally. You know, that I think of us like the helper T cells, right? Like we were specially outfitted to come in and find like the worst of the worst. And like, yeah.
I
So we
was.
might feel targeted by them, but I also wonder if they feel
We
targeted
took,
by us.
thank you. That's where I wanted to orient the conversation was we do have the power in this, but the spiritual bypassing technique that they're using disempowers, and we can still tell the same narrative in a more empowering way, which
Yeah.
is we didn't choose it for no reason. We chose it to fully dismantle it. And that's the power. So we did target that. You and I both, when you use the term shadow worker, that lights me up, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it describes that other part of me that's 50% me here in the 3D so well.
Mm. Yep.
Because those of us who are really on the path, those of us who are healers holding space in ceremony, I don't find many that aren't the saint and the sinner truly. They've integrated
Yes.
it in a way where that devil doesn't have any control, but it's fully there, and there's this like beastly friendship with it.
Yeah. And
Not, it isn't Mother Teresa. It isn't Kuan Yin.
it's
We
Callie.
are holding something totally different here.
Yeah, it's
So
Callie the Destroyer, right? The
yes,
sacred
yes.
destroyer. Like, okay, what needs to be destroyed? Let me destroy
Mm.
that. Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Which other
Yeah.
people may lie to themselves about what that means, that destruction,
Mhm.
without seeing it as making way for new creation,
Right. Well, I
right?
have this conversation with a lot of people too who are kind of on this ascension wavelength and they're heading this way, and then they get into this place where they say like, "Oh, what about this duality? I'm supposed to transcend this duality. So I don't want to give any energy to the dark or the hate or the this or the that." I just always try to bring it back to like, how do you think it would feel though if someone comes to you someday and they're saying to you, this horrible thing just happened to me, and your response is to say, no, look at the light. Right? Like
Right.
that doesn't feel good to be rejected, especially where you're in the place where it is direct or it feels really present. We
Yes.
have to be able to say, yeah, that's evil, or yeah, that's dark,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Or, in this case, I do see the demonic that came through this dentist and,
Okay.
reached
So,
into all
okay.
these
So you
lives.
already know this. This is not something
Yeah,
new.
no.
I was like, the way you mentioned it, it felt like this crazy thing happened in childhood
Yeah.
that doesn't happen to everybody. And I was feeling a whole movie
Yeah. Well,
that came with it, a whole
here's another thing. If
supernatural movie.
we want to run on that path, I'll tell you some crazy thing that happened too, not even that long ago, I think 10 years ago. So this happened, when I'm 5, 6,
Yeah.
7. I'm
Yeah.
in my 40s now. And when I was in my mid 30s, I wasn't even trying to. This is every time I've had a past life memory come up, I wasn't really trying to.
I
It
know.
just
Same.
happens, right? And I don't know if you're the same or if other people listening are the
Yeah.
same, but every time it's something horrifying. Like it
I
is
know.
horrible. It is never good. And it's so dark. And I'm like, oh my God, again. And when you experience these past life memories, for me, it's like you lived it again. And so it's like
Yeah.
right here, right now, I just got murdered. Right here, right now, I just got brutalized. Like this just happened. And so this one,
Or in my case, if I
yeah,
may interrupt, in my
yeah,
case, or right here, right now, I'm um, poisoning this person, or right here, right
yes,
now, I'm hurting a child. Right here,
yes,
right now, I'm doing some type of dark sex magic ritual in
yes.
Egypt.
Yeah.
I wasn't the one, I was the perpetrator.
Yep.
Like, that's what killed me in
I
my
think that's why we
ascension
chose
process.
this experience too, right? Whatever our DNA is, whatever this, whatever this body of Lindsey is, like has that memory. And I was
Yeah,
like, that one, I want to be the one who did the bad and then received it back and then transcended it all.
exactly.
Because
Yes.
and
Yes.
this, so about 10 years ago, I'd had all these memories come back where I was brutalized, I was killed, it was all trauma, trauma, trauma. I had never yet been the perpetrator in any of these. I didn't even question that. I didn't think
Right.
about it at all. And then all
Right.
of a sudden I was meditating and I just went there. I went and then I was back and I was experiencing being super happy about torturing people.
Yeah.
Not like gleefully sadistic, but more like, man, I've got this job. People trust me. Like I'm doing the
Yeah.
right thing. Like this is
Yes.
so noble and
Like a
righteous. And
Nazi
yeah,
general who was proud how he rose in the ranks,
yep,
even though there's a concentration camp of screaming people around him.
yes. And
He has a cognitive dissonance around them being people because of,
yes.
yeah, 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 yeah.
These were not people, they were something, I don't know, witches or something, I was definitely
Yes.
in the
And so you thought
church.
they deserved it or
Yep.
something.
I was doing
Yeah.
good for
Yeah.
all of humanity. Like,
So
oh,
were
it
you
was
evil or
great.
were you not?
I was not evil at all. So, and then
Right.
I walked in and I'm torturing. I'm like, yeah, take that, all of it. I'm not, and some part of me is still Lindsey, just appalled. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, but
Yeah.
most of me is
Right.
this person doing this and this man at this time in the Inquisition. And
Yeah.
and then I left. It was so weird because at the end of this torture session, I looked this person in the eyes and it all changed. And just the eye contact, and I felt everything in my consciousness change.
Empathy.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what have I done? And I like
Yes.
hid it and buried it and I left and I tried to go home, but I couldn't face my wife because I
I
knew she'd
understand.
know, or and that I was going to lose my job and they were probably
Yeah.
going to torture me. And everything became so clear. And it was all in like a moment.
Yeah.
And I was trying to drink myself to death, and I was like, I'm going to kill myself. And the weirdest thing is, this is also very strange for a past life memory, is that I then was that person, that version of me, but then I was also the Lindsey version of me for a moment, and the Lindsey version of me was trying to convince me not to kill myself. And that
Yeah.
it
Love
was
that.
better if I would do as much work as I could to
Ooh.
be honest and to stand in my new truth and to really let it sink in, and that
Yes.
could potentially affect who knows what, but at the very least it wouldn't
It did.
compound the karma even worse,
Yes.
and all.
Yes.
And he listened and he was like,
Yes.
okay. And like, because this was some kind of a crazy spiritual experience for him too, right? For
Yes.
me as him. And
Absolutely.
and it got confusing because I was both people at once.
You were
And
his future
I
self,
was his future higher
technically.
self, right?
Yes.
That's what our higher
Yeah.
self is our future
Yeah.
self that already knows the way.
That's right.
And so I experienced being the higher self. And then, so it was really meta. And I
I
came back
bet.
to this body and I was sitting here like just reeling in all of this and trauma again, trauma and trauma, but also some success and celebration, because it had kind of started and all of this. And then it hit me. Oh, I was the torturer. I ripped out teeth. And in this life, I met the
Oh,
torturer and had my teeth
yes.
ripped out.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Whew. So that was pretty wild. So that was big. So I mean, I had a whole new thing where I was like, and then I've had more past lives come back since then where I was the perpetrator. I was the child sex mutilate, like horrible satanic stuff
I
and
know. I know.
that too. So
I
then I've
know.
gotten even, I think that's even worse than torturing for the Inquisition, right? So none of it's glamorous, none of it's fun. But
If we
I'm
looked at the energy and the loosh that's released by it, maybe it's equal, but to us, that we have our own differences, and that's where the gray area of what is wicked and what is good and all of that can come in, and who's deciding that and that sort of thing.
yeah,
And it it really, when you have this experience in your ascension journey where all of your light and your dark begin to integrate from this lifetime and then from the other lives,
Yeah.
you start to realize, wow, it's hard for me to judge deep, deep down this person, because if I did that in another life and I'm making it right in this one, then how come they couldn't come back and make it right in the next, or make it right in this one? And what is right anyway? Not everyone has to go through this sort of existential quandary.
Right. Yeah, it does. And it comes down to that. What it also does is it makes it way easier for me to forgive.
Me
Because
too.
no matter who's doing what, I mean, not always instantly, and sometimes it takes me, whatever, but I get there more and more easily in life, no matter how dark or weird or hard or bad or whatever it seems to me, because I just remember, oh, I've done that. I'm sure I mean, I've done worse than this. So, like, I get how you can make this mistake. I actually
Yeah.
understand now. I remember when I was little, I used to ask this question myself all the time. I was like, I get being good. I get loving God, I get being angry at God too. Obviously, I got that too. But I don't get choosing evil. Like, I don't
Yeah,
get
I
choosing
didn't either.
harm. And then now I do. So this was like part of my mission in this life, was to
Me too.
understand, like, how do people get to that point, or what
Me too.
makes them do it? And I really get it now. And I also constantly feel like I need to say, because I think sometimes people then take that as like, well, then let anyone do anything, and like never have boundaries and never
But
judge
that's people
anyone.
who
And
live in duality, who can't hold several things at once. It's either, well, if it's not going to be that, then that means you're saying this.
right.
That's, again, very Saturnian, very 3D, very dual. It's this or that, and it's going to be several things at once.
Yes. I
I
can
can
love
hold
you.
that.
I can forgive you. And I can also
Yes.
say, no, you can't do that to me right now or ever. And like all these things can
My human
coexist.
can hate your human while having unconditional love for the fact that you are source too. Like, there are
Yes.
times where I think, even if I didn't have this reference of doing these things in other lives, to be able to see what you're doing in this now present lifetime as just a lesson you need to learn and something you can get right or correct later. It's the morality, the judgment, the all of that keeps us locked in this 3D matrix. And what some of us shadow workers have come here to do is collapse and master duality, which means we had to fully express it. We also had to have things in this lifetime that we could have acted on or could have chosen and chose not to.
Right.
I'll never forget when Spirit said to me one time, a good person is not someone who wakes up during the day and doesn't kill someone because they never had the thought. A good person is someone who wakes up, gets angry at someone, has the desire to kill them, chooses not to,
Yes.
and does not have to fight it either, but just has
Right.
mastery over self and chooses not to, because we understand that we are living in animal bodies, but we're now ascending to be fully enlightened, fully with that soul in form. We have to wake up our DNA and get it all that junk DNA needs to not be so junky, right? We need to start
Right.
looking at it as what it is. So much potential. 2 strands or 3 strands of DNA, that's an abomination. We've got so much potential in us to hold that light. And I think that's but you cannot get there without integrating the dark things that you've done, because you agreed when entering into the dual realm of the 3D that everything that had a light would have an opposite. That's what's shitty about this 3D matrix, Lindsay. One of the things I don't like about it is that when you, sorry, your background looks very Oz, and I keep seeing the movie Wicked.
It's
Um,
just
and she sings this song called No Good Deed. And I'm just like, every good deed you do within the false matrix gives birth to an opposite of that. So in fifth dimension and above, you have unity consciousness where everything can just be. But here, everything gets split into duality. So even your intention to be good can cause an extreme mirror opposite to happen. That's why we have to come into a neutral state.
yeah.
And I was reading something on your website where you talked about bringing people into a middle
The middle path.
path,
Yeah.
the middle, like the noble middle path, as Buddha would have called it.
Yeah.
And that takes spiritual courage, because to get to the middle path, you have to not try to be good and not see the bad as bad. All the things we were taught not to do because everything in this realm is inverted.
Right. Well, and I think, the key to everything is to just be, which sounds, I don't know what it
I
sounds
know
like
it
to people.
sounds cheesy, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, and I think they're thinking like, oh, then how you have to try to be. And like, no, the point is to just literally just be like just yourself right here, right now,
Yeah.
exactly what you're thinking, exactly what you're saying, exactly what you're doing, and just be there with it. Because you are
You mean it in
starting
a
to,
feminine way.
hmm,
I think you mean it in a feminine way where other people take it masculine, like it's something they need to do.
go be. Yeah, it's like, no,
I need to
just be.
be instead of I am.
I am. And you
Yeah.
have to be honest about what you are and where you're
Oh,
at. You
that
can't
part.
actually not be honest about it, but when you try,
That
you
part.
make things way harder, more complicated. And so if you are just brutally honest and brutally authentic, it is the highest form of magic and spiritual connection that you can achieve. It is the middle path, and it is this neutrality, which is actually what you have to be in order for spiritual energy to come through you. So, if we're
Yeah.
talking about channeling, like you have to be in that neutral space. You're not judging yourself, you're not trying to be anything. You're just very, very present, and there is like nothing, no thing there, right?
Yes. No thing. Yeah.
And you could have just, screamed at a cat to get off your lawn, and you could right after this, you could go bake a pie, or it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But like
That's
right
right.
here, you're just present with like, yeah, I'm this person in this space with these thoughts, and this is what's happening, and I'm not attached to any of them, which also means,
Ooh, attachment.
right? Because
That
people are like,
part.
well, I can't stop thinking. And like the goal isn't to stop thinking.
Yeah.
It is to notice and not be
It's to
attached to it. Say,
notice.
wow, look at all those things crazy going
Yeah.
through my head.
Yeah.
Like I just thought of 62 different things in like 5 seconds. Like that's
That
crazy.
takes a lot of awareness.
Awareness and presence. And it's hard for people because they're like, well, no, I want to like have the spiritual experience and I want to meditate and I want to like do this. And it's like, that
Sounds
is
very
how you do
masculine.
that, though. That's how you do that, right?
Hmm.
It's also again back to that thing where whatever people are bringing you, if you're a spiritual practitioner like myself or like you, and your people are coming to you and they're wanting help, wanting support, they're wanting to connect higher, and you have to be in that space extra because no matter what they bring you, you have to be there. They could be someone who at some point in your personality, when you were more attached to something, you judged heavily, right?
Yes. Oh
They
my
could
gosh.
be
Yes.
a child molester.
Yeah.
Right. And you're allowed to say, no, I don't want to work with you, but you also might be able to help them transform everything if you can
Okay.
be
Well,
truly present with them. Right.
so this is part of the reason that we've joined together today is
Mhm.
because that's part of my soul mission is to help people like that.
Ah,
So my very
because you've been
first
there.
and only relationship that was a karmic relationship is someone who is not a child abuser, but who is attracted to children. I didn't know that for almost the whole time we were
Wow.
together. Wasn't toward the end, and he was a Satanist. He's told me he sold his soul to the devil. The attraction to children and everything was separate from that. They get
Interesting.
very intertwined, of course, as we
Yeah.
know, but that was always there in him. He was Scorpio sun and Leo moon, very attracted to the drama of the black mirrors and the pentagrams and that sort of thing. Did he invite things in? Yes, but he didn't know what he was doing. He
Yeah.
made music and he wanted to be famous.
Yeah.
I was 20, he was 23 years old, and I know that he couldn't help it. And I know that even though he is narcissistic and has borderline personality disorder, and I think some of that comes from the entities that he has let in. But
Yep.
we had a karmic agreement where I was going to choose something different, not necessarily that theme, but he sort of represented all the shadow pieces, all the things I judged up to that point
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And I was having sex with it, and I realized, and that was my own, still to this day, my longest and only most meaningful romantic relationship. And it was horrible and horrifying the whole time. I lost 30 pounds. I tell you this because it forced a theme into my awareness that was already there through certain plays I had been in, like Doubt, which is about a priest who's accused of misconduct with a child when I was in a performing arts high school. There were things that showed up. And then I realized I've had clients since then in certain instances where with other people where I have had to see that theme play out or in them. Or like a client, a woman who came to me afraid to have children because she thought she was going to abuse them because she had fantasies. And I said, do you ever have a fantasy of, pulling off the road or hitting someone's car when you're angry at them? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, do you ever do it? And she's like, no. And I'm like, I want you to know that although this feels really wrong and big and evil, it doesn't mean something's going to make you do it if she was scared, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
said, you're not going to do that. You would never do that. That's why you're here crying to me scared. You care so much about those children, you don't even want to have them.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it that way,
That's
because
good.
she was being psychically attacked. The
Yeah.
entities wanted her to think she wanted to do that. And also, I was only able to help her because a few years before that, I had a Kundalini awakening where all those memories came to the surface of what I had done in several
Yeah.
lives. And so I'm here to tell everybody, I used to shake in my boots that the entire world would find out that I've had these dreams and thoughts and seen these rituals and I've done these things in other lives, and that I'm this evil person who's never actually hurt anyone here, especially a child, but that I just couldn't let go of it. My ego couldn't let go of it as part of my identity, and I hid it, even though there was nothing to be. It was like a witch wound I carried over from many lifetimes that I had been punished for in other lifetimes, but it was all fine here. I was meant to see it in a karmic relationship and see it from over here.
Yeah.
I was able to, I understood it, but I couldn't go near it. It was like the darkest topic you could go into.
Yeah.
Why me? I would ask Source and my higher self. Why me? Why am I gay? Why do I have these thoughts? Why this? That's not the only dark thing I've had to deal with. And I don't even look at his attraction to children as dark, because he had this 12-year-old thing in him.
Yeah.
So I also noticed that I was watching someone who really wanted to be a child and had some kind of, he would almost go into these childlike states, like these people who want to pretend to be babies, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And like
Yep.
be coddled like that. There's actually something sweet in some of those circles about that. Like, we're honoring that part of you, and it's done in a way that isn't abusive.
Yep.
But he was just messy, and it was all very dark. But it helped me from that point forward see humans in those people. And then
Yeah.
to realize I had done these things in other life on top of other lives where I had been a savior for mass groups of people. You know what I mean? So I had to
Yeah.
understand, wow, I really need to integrate both sides of this, and these things that I do not want in this lifetime or I do not think are correct. I can understand, oh, wow, they're programs. There's trauma that's getting repeated. They're not evil. A lot of these people don't want this. He did not want that. It tormented him a
Yeah.
little bit.
Uh-huh.
Not a little bit, probably a lot. Wasn't around him enough to know, after I was made aware, to know how it affects him in his daily life. I don't have any communication with him, but I do know that it is not something he wanted or was choosing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, oh, well, whether it's a trauma response or it's just some glitch in the matrix, or you actually have a 12-year-old energy in you that never grew up past that point due to some trauma, so you're attracted to them just like you were when you were 12.
Yeah.
These were the things I had to go sit with in my medicine journeys and go sit with with clients, and for years I judged that. Lindsey, what does that mean about me?
Yeah.
Until I realized, holy shit, Yeshua's one of my dudes. He would go sit with them.
Yeah, he would.
He would
Yep.
go down there, because
Mhm.
that's where they deserve to be, is down there, right? He would go there and get them and ask them, what do you need? What does your inner child need?
Well, he descended
So
all the
who's going to
way to
do
the
it,
pits of
Lindsey?
hell, right?
You brought this up because it's so important and people don't want to talk about it. I knew when we gathered we would be someone named Rogue Soul. We were going to be talking
Yeah.
about some rogue shit,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
no one
trigger a
wants
lot
to
of
talk.
people.
Yeah,
Just like,
as you should. That's part of your
like
mission.
even without trying, I walk into a room and some people are like, "Oh, cool, this person must be cool, right?" And then a bunch of people are like, "I hate her. What is she doing? I don't even know her. I've never met her. I
I
hate her." And
know.
it's like, right,
Same.
let's keep
I'm
her
like, are you a
away.
manifester in human design? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I think
Um,
so.
are you?
I think so, actually. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
You
I
should
think
check
that's what
that
it
out,
is.
because if you're
Yeah.
a manifester, you're literally describing my life. I just walk into a room and I'm like, I am here to
Everyone
party.
reacts.
That is
Yeah.
not, they look And I used to think it's because of something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
Poor Christopher. I'm so glad I've healed so much. But I
Yeah.
just want to say with this topic before we go on that I appreciate you bringing that through and not being afraid to go here and holding this with me. And I want to be clear for everyone listening that I do not support the abuse of children or anything
No.
like that. I support people who were also abused children
Yeah.
or have been abused in other lives or carry this trauma imprint that doesn't even belong to humanity. I support seeing the light in them. So even if it's not in this lifetime, they can continue to, I can hold space for them in the next to keep refining this. I don't have the same hatred towards that. I do not want to participate with it. I do not support. But I know a lot of what's happening out there is not just intentional satanic reptilian stuff. There's
Right.
humans that have been traumatized and aren't in control of their own chakras and their own consciousness, and they're being
Yeah.
hijacked as well. And I have compassion for that. Can you all not hold that? So please know I can want to go help them so they don't hurt anyone
Hmm.
while also holding that I don't like what they did,
Yeah.
or in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play God and decide what source thinks of it.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just going to do where I'm called. And obviously, my mission has called me to help people like that. Even mothers who are afraid to have children because they were sexually abused. And
Yeah.
now they're having these weird fantasies, which happens. Hello, the
That's how the
sacral
brain
chakra
works.
turns your pain into pleasure. It's
Yeah.
trying to modulate it to protect you from this pain, right?
Right.
And you're also transmuting it that way sometimes too. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I've had sex with people where things would flash in front of my eyes that I did not want to see, or I was like, would I get off to something like that? And I had to really was so hard on myself about it when now I look back and realize I was clearing probably I was seeing their
Yeah.
sexual trauma maybe because I absorb sexual energy from people
Yep.
when I'm having a sexual experience. I don't just leave, I take on their stuff through sex. Even in human design, a manifester will take on the sacral energy.
Ah,
So I just wanted to really touch on that subject because it's something that I think of often as when is this ever going to come up? Someone going to bring that up? Because
yeah.
I don't have to go bringing that up all the time because
Well,
part of
it's
our mission is helping the children, but also who's going to help the people who are hurting them to stop hurting them
yeah, and
instead
it's
of just killing them off because they're going to reincarnate
they
and
are
carry
going to
that imprint
reincarnate.
back.
I think about that and I say that. I'm like, put them in the wood chippers. Then I'm like, they're going to come right back and they're going to have the same
They're going to
problems.
come right back.
Yeah. It's also it's interesting that you and I both have recalled lives in which we were those exact people and that has changed a lot for me too. And and also again, I've like you have worked with people who are afraid of the feelings, the fantasies they have and the things that are in their mind that again, they know they'll never act on it, but they're also in judgment of themselves and they're like, "Well, what's wrong with me?" And you
Yeah.
could like ask the question actually no matter who you are, because no matter who you are, you probably have had thoughts. You've probably had things that you didn't actually like or didn't think were appropriate, and there they are in your mind, right? Like you said, like wanting to like hit someone on it, whatever it is. And so you can at least relate to that, and you can at least relate to this feeling of like, well, why do I feel that way? And I don't want to feel this way, and what's wrong
Right.
with me? And there's torment and
Yeah.
torture in it, and you can have compassion for that. And like you said, it's very different from saying, oh, by no means would I allow this to happen, encourage this to happen. Like if there was a
Yes.
child being harmed in front of me, I always say, no matter whose child it was, like I would fight and die for it if that's what was called
Absolutely.
for. So,
Absolutely.
right, like we can, and like you said, like this is actually transcending duality to be able to hold multiple things in your
Both of
mind at
these.
once.
Yeah. Or all of
And
it at
this
once.
is my biggest struggle with forgiveness is to forgive people who abuse children. Even
I
though
know.
I've been that and I try to forgive myself is difficult for it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is actually again part of why I always bring it back to when we're working with ourselves. That's the primary work you're here to do is the best work you can do. It's the highest service you can do is to work on yourself. And so
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. I also get to work with other people. It's an amazing honor. It's beautiful. And really what I'm doing is empowering them to work on themselves. It's
Yes.
like it still
Yes.
comes back to you have to work on you because when you can find these things within yourself that past life or this life, that are dark and hard and, all crunched up in your auric field and just blockages left and right, and you're dissolving those and releasing them. This actually, holofractically moves
Yeah.
throughout the entirety of all of humanity now. And
Yeah.
100% of people now have a more likelihood and easier time also releasing that and transcending this. And so
Very good.
you can go out and you can work on anyone you want. It's great, fantastic, but like doing it for yourself is the best you
Yeah.
can do. So I always come back to like, I'm still forgiving me for that. I'm still working
Yeah.
on this actually.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
do really get done with it, that'll be huge,
Yes.
right? For
It will
everybody.
be.
So
You will become so powerful when you have no shame around it. Doesn't mean you say it should happen, but full acceptance of the power that you alchemized it to give you.
yeah.
You took something very iron and rusty and turned it into gold.
Well, and you can't actually, it's like you said earlier, like there's not really anything in if you don't have the urge, if you just don't murder someone, like that's not a very big deal if you didn't want to. It's a much
There's no
bigger deal if you
choice.
did
Our
want to.
consciousness is about choice and
Right.
sovereignty. And I think we're talking, there's just a lot of people out there who haven't reached the level of consciousness to hold outside of duality, outside of linear time,
Yeah.
hold multidimensional concepts. Because I've witnessed people who just couldn't hold it, but then could hold it later through healing, through plant medicine, which expanded their ability to hold different levels of perception. I've watched people completely awaken
Yeah.
and begin their ascension process. I was one of them. I just was not nearly as asleep as most of these people.
Yeah. Okay, came
It's
in a little bit
okay.
more
That's
awake.
not a gift. That was not a gift
No,
for
you
many
worked
years.
every life to get there. I mean,
That's
that's all that
right.
is, right?
That's right.
People will say that too. Well, why do you have all these like things or these experiences or were called to this path or have all these whatever? And I'm like, I mean, it's not an accident,
Right.
right? Every life before this, I was working to get here. Working might not be the right word. My heart was, creating
Evolving
and
into being
manifesting the
here. Yeah.
situations that I then had to move through in order to
Yeah.
arrive at a more pure place. And yeah, isn't that awesome? Don't you want to also do that, right? Start
Yeah,
where you're at.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all heading toward this great event that we're in right now and will come to be this ascension process that we're in. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, but I'd also love to hear how you help clients or how you help the souls out there who are awakening or coming into their healing process. What are ways in which you support them in their ascension journey and healing?
Yeah. Oh, it's hard. It's hard to put into words, but I do have my services I offer people and they're also hard to put into words. And sometimes people just like get it. They're like, I don't even care. I get your vibe. I want to do whatever we're doing here.
I
Like,
know.
cool.
Those are the
Other
great
people are
ones.
like, wait, so
They
like what do
purely
you
they
do?
purely read the energy instead of needing all the
Right.
descriptions and the different price things.
Right.
They
They're
just
like,
want you.
do
It's great.
so do you do Reiki? I'm like, well, it's kind of like Reiki, but it's not like, so are you a psychic? I'm like, well, I'm kind of psychic, but I'm not. And they're like, well, then, so you're an astrologer. I'm like, not really, but like, I'm just like, I don't know how you want to put it in a box, right? But I do coach and counsel people through anything. So like if I'm sort of like a counselor and therapist for a lot of people and it can be spiritual, it can be physical, it can be health, it can be
Yeah.
anything at all. And so there's that and I just call those coaching and talk sessions, but I really love to do blessings, group blessings with people. I really love to channel through source energy through to people, and I do that in spirit guide sessions. Um, excuse me. In which we get in really deep together because again I don't find it to be valuable if the person who's receiving isn't also like doing right like you've got to put it in their hands, let them do it too. So I invite people to come into an inner space with me, and so it's just meditative, kind of hypnotic. And then when we're in that space, we call in all their good, true, and beautiful energies, their spiritual guides, their higher self, their ancestors, source itself, and I just see what happens. So I can't, so people are like, well, what's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. Well, let's go find out, and they're like, well, that's kind of scary, but it's so different for each person. But what tends to happen, there tends to be some guides who have something to say. I'll either be just told what to tell them, or sometimes they'll speak through my
It'll just
mouth.
come right out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll just start talking and and then sometimes there's a soul song that comes through. That's just pure energy, and it's not me. I don't, it's just a higher level that's just like channeling through that sound
It's
vibration
so
carries.
funny that you say that
Yeah.
because I completely forgot as we were getting on here, when I started to tune to your energy before we got on the Zoom, I started to hear a song, but it was so ridiculous that I didn't say anything to you. But it was Yankee Doodle. And almost represented like what we were going to come in here and do. And I didn't really get it. But when you said soul song, I was like, interesting, because
That's
when I
just,
tuned to your frequency, it came with a song that sort of like, I don't,
it's like the
I don't,
revolution. Let's
yes.
get this done. Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I get it.
But
I see
at
it.
the beginning, before you popped in, it was like, I'm not saying Yankee
No,
Doodle
I'm
to
not saying.
her.
Well, see, this
That
is the
sounded so
thing.
childish and strange.
Oh, this is the thing I've learned over and over again is I'll be shown or told something and I'm like, that sounds stupid. Right?
It
Like
was
I
so
don't
dumb.
want
I
to
was
say
like,
this to someone right now, but
yeah,
every time I trust that and say it, that's so meaningful for them, whatever it was.
yeah.
Whatever
I
it
wish
is,
I had
they're
even remembered to say it. It was so goofy that I literally blocked it.
you're like, no.
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony. And I thought something about macaroni.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this going to be some kind of inner child thing? And nothing, I just let it go. But it was so strong as if it represented the frequency that was coming through. And I
It's
didn't
like
even take it necessarily as the revolution until you just said that. Because I
playful but
forgot that that was a
revolutionary.
Revolutionary War song.
Yeah.
I
That's
forgot
awesome.
that. It was
That's
just a
cool.
childish song to me from childhood.
Well, I love that too, because that's also people are like, you're so like vulnerable and you're so just like real and you're kind of
Yeah.
like immature. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like a little kid, but in a big
Yeah.
person's body, but with a lot of wisdom and experience, but never taking myself too seriously. So
Yeah.
it's kind
It's
of
like you're a
perfect.
little girl with a drum and there's a dog behind you and you all are like, gonna go change the world.
Yes.
And so is
Which
the way
isn't
it felt.
that's the energy that you would change the world with, right?
Yes, you're
I
right.
love
You're
it.
right.
So
Yeah, that is
that's
it.
another thing I do. That's a pretty deep session. And then I also do a sound
But do
healing
they come
session.
through as songs you already know or as like a light
No.
language?
It's
It's
like a light language,
I
but via
see.
song. So
Cool.
it sounds like songs. There's no real words. There's different sounds that come through. Yeah, it's different every time. And I shouldn't say that. There's might be times something's repeated. I wouldn't know because there's been so many, but they seem different every time. They seem
Yeah.
unique to the person, to the frequency that they need, to that and so I see their chakras, I see past lives, I see all
Mm,
kinds of stuff, and I just share whatever comes up. Um and sometimes, I mean, it's just very different for each person because
right.
everybody's in a totally different spot. So that those are an hour-long session. The channeling itself tends to be about half an hour to 45 minutes of that. And so there's some time on either side to sort of talk as well. And then I do a sound healing session. It's a little bit longer. And people don't hear anything. I'm using tuning forks that they can't hear through
Ah,
Zoom,
interesting.
but I'm working on their holographic
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
and energy field, and so that comes with like a very deep report. I tell people, you're going to get this for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then you're going to get verbal diarrhea, which I'm going to ask you to record because it's way too much information for
Yeah.
anyone to have. So you're going to need to come back to it multiple times because it's so dense.
Hmm.
And that's the same that it might be past lives and guides and messages and stuff, but it's just so much more of it. So the sound
Yeah.
healing is like an even higher sort of tier of thing I offer. But I do group events too, and I love group events more than
Me too.
anything because I mean, I shouldn't say that I love working with people one-on-one. It's very powerful and it's very necessary. I also love group events so much because it's so much more powerful. And like the people who show up don't realize how
I
much
know.
power they're, magnifying everybody else's power with their,
Well,
and it's
it's like a
not,
crystal and a crystal grid. These
yes,
crystal grids are portal creators. These
yes.
crystals, depends on the size, but they're like a little data chip, and you put them all together and they create this computer.
And it's
Eh,
massive. And I'm like, you
Massive.
guys, thank you so much for coming. And you're not sharing you're not like getting each other's karma. It's not messy like that. It's just amplified like that. And
Yeah.
so people can
Yes. Yes.
release way more, transform way more, like
I know.
uplift way more. I love it. So I do these blessings whenever I'm called to do them. They're often on new moons and full moons, or sometimes with celestial alignments. They're usually with that type of thing, but sometimes they're just on like a random Tuesday. I'm just told that this is what's
Yeah.
needed. And so I call people together, and the people who show up get to receive it. And
Yeah.
sort of similar, we go into a really deep space together. And then often the blessing and the soul song come through, a lot less of the messages, because it's sometimes, though, like one of the ones I was able to do at the retreat that I held this last summer was the cosmic mother came through,
Mm.
which I wouldn't have been able to really
Stop it.
super describe to you
Stop,
before
stop,
it
stop.
happened. What?
So, like 5, 6 months ago, I have downloaded this form of astrology I call ascended astrology.
Ah,
And there's a lot of things to it that are unique to it. And one of them is this 13th house and this infinite void space that is the 13th house.
wow.
And when I go into the 13th house, it's just blackness, nothingness, like the womb of source herself. Well, this figure appeared. Not a figure, a force appeared to me when I go in there, and she announced herself as the Great Mother.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that she said, I'm the keeper of the 13th house. And last night, Lindsey, I asked her, last night, I had to go upstairs to my assistant who lives with me and say, I need to help ground this in because I'm getting a download. I'm talking to the Great Mother again, the one who is in the 13th house. And I get that it's like the divine feminine force of creation, of potential. I get that part, but it came through with a voice and a entity.
Yeah.
And like when you said cosmic mother, it's the same
Same.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like
Same
the
thing.
Shakti, it's mother of the universe, Kali,
Yeah.
and she was forceful, but it felt kind of like ayahuasca, kind of like
Yeah.
this divine feminine force. And I think she's coming to many of us who have this mission, especially the shadow work mission, because all this shadow and this darkness we're integrating is just supposed to be infinite potential. It's not supposed to be all this dense
Right.
satanic shit.
Infinite potential is actually what I call it too. Yeah,
Oh,
so it's
awesome.
wild because
Yeah.
I am the 13th sign. I'm a fucus in true sidereal
Yes.
astrology. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I get a lot of 13 energy throughout my life.
13 is
And
my number. That's my
that's
favorite
funny.
number.
Yeah, and downloads about 13 and the
Me too.
13th thing being the thing. We've
The
got the
thing, like the
12
13th
down, but then there's the
DNA
13th.
strand is the whole thing. There's the 12 DNA strands, but the 13th is the whole thing. And we have to say the number 13 out loud, not reinforce this 12 number continually, which
Yeah.
keeps everything in a binary code.
Yeah.
And I
The stat
think
of it.
some of us are part of the same soul group who are downloading these, whether it's star groups, and because I work a lot with the Andromedans and the Pleiadians, but and Lemurian energies as well. There could just be this. It's the divine code that hacks you out of a matrix. Ophiuchus is the matrix disruptor. I have
Yes.
Gaia in my system. The planet Earth has a sign too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
I
so
wondered about that.
my Gaia sign is in Ophiuchus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
and so my body carries the imprint of the matrix disruptor, if you want to
Yeah.
look at it that way, where your sun, your ego carries the signature of the matrix disruptor. So I could help you embody it. You can help me bring in more light.
I love that.
When we open the portal to the 13th house, which is the infinite potential, instead of more false matrix bullshit.
Stay in the loop. Stay in the loop.
That's
Stay in
why
the
it comes
loop.
after
Yeah.
Scorpio, because Scorpio is death. And
Yeah.
Ophiuchus is rebirth,
Rebirth
resurrection. Not
in a
Scorpio
totally
is not death
new.
and rebirth. Yeah. We have to have
Yeah.
that 13th energy, or we'll get stuck in a binary code that has no way out.
I love this. I
You
got
have to
this
have
whole
that
download
mathematical
once.
imperfection to create an opening for potential and variables to
I
happen.
should share this with you. I got a download for a while ago too that I had to like map out in a grid, and it was all these. I'll share it with you, but it has a lot of the 13th thing in it. And the 13th thing was the almost most difficult to get through. So it was like one, two, three,
Yes.
right. The 12 stuff, I all like came through easy. It was easy. And then I got to the 13th and I was like, holy
Because that makes your
shit. Like,
soul. I tell people all the time the 13th house is the womb of source herself, but the 13th sign, we might call it Ophiuchus, but I say the 13th zodiac sign truly is, because things do work in 12s pretty nicely here.
yeah.
Okay. So what
144.
Ophiuchus to me represents is this reminder to come back into the 13th sign, which is your soul's unique divine like blueprint, like unique as a thumbprint it's not even bound to these archetypes. It's something so unique and something that has never been before in reality if you fully expressed it. And
Yeah.
that's what I think we're trying to pull in right now, is help people to understand you can express the fullness of who you are as soul in the body, should you remember and should you clear out and purify Chiron
Purify.
Ophiuchus.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
some of us are just coming here to do this. I think some of us have this mission and we're getting the same codes. Great Mother's coming and she's got her 13.
Well,
Of
and
course,
this,
we're all these scientists sprinkled, little light worker scientists sprinkled around the globe, and we're all
yes.
meant to eventually find each other and just keep turning
Ding.
more light bulbs on
Yeah.
until we are like a Christmas tree from hell.
Right.
And we're so bright that the archons and the false matrix they're just going to incinerate.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. So
Uh-huh.
where we just shine so bright, where we become the dominant frequency, not them.
Well, I love too this energy because, I woke up in what we call the dark light. You got a body, you can be in the dark light, the clear light, the white light,
Yeah.
and they all serve their purpose. And when I woke up once in the dark light, which is kind of an oxymoron because once you wake up, you're no longer in the dark light because the dark light
Right.
is like pure, like unconsciousness. And it's the
Right.
most
It
blissful,
is. It's so
just
peaceful
like, oh
and
my God,
just,
can I be here
I
forever?
know, I know.
And then,
And the
connecting with
most
it
boring.
and the most boring, but like you need this rest sometimes, right? So on the
Yeah,
soul level, I think you just
exactly.
go dip in there for a minute
Yeah,
and
yeah.
come back for some of the work. But when I was channeling this at the retreat, which I didn't expect, I didn't know that big of an energy was going to come through. Um, I believe it was during the third eye session too, which makes a lot of sense to me as well. But uh, so when she came through, her message was a lot like that. It was kind of like, and she said things like, I'm literally the space between whatever you imagine as stuff. Like, I am not that. I'm the opposite of that in a
That's
way.
right.
I'm the thing that holds all of it together. I was the
Yes.
first. I was here first. I came before it
That's
all.
right.
That's what I am.
I I'm so
And
sorry to
she,
interrupt again
yeah,
because she came to me last night and I just had this come in. I said, "Well, what about the cosmic father?" Okay? Because I'm totally down if it's all a mother, like just I know that there is a father, though. I know how the energy splits. And she said everything that is created is his domain.
yes,
Everything that has not been created but is ready to be created if you tap into it infinitely is
infinitely.
me.
Yeah,
Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh.
it's
And that was last
everything.
night, Lindsay. So don't you see how even when we start
Yeah,
to join to do podcasts, how we help ground things in? And
yeah,
it's these synchronicities that help you go, we have to keep gathering and connecting because we're all not only carrying codes for each other, but also we did come and split up so that we would find each other again.
yeah. So you remember. Yeah,
Yeah. And be like,
yeah.
oh my
So
God, we're not alone, actually. Thank God. Oh my
thank
God. I
God.
thought I was here on a lone mission.
Right. For a long time, I
So,
really was like,
me
man, no, I have to do
too.
all this by myself.
I
Like,
know.
what?
I
No, I
know.
don't. So then another part of that message that came through was like, it's going to be potentially quite rough coming up, right? Like things might get a bit wild. I'm totally paraphrasing, by the way. I don't remember exactly what she said,
Right. Right.
or it said, or however you want to define this. But what this is like what I remember of what the bulk of the message was. And she was like, you want to remember in those moments to be in radical release. Like
Yes.
stop even
Yes.
trying in those moments and just
Yeah.
let it go. And that will be perhaps one of the most difficult things in your life is to purely surrender. And this echoed throughout my life as it was coming through because I saw all these moments where I had done that in a crisis moment where something higher came through to me and was like, stop
Yeah.
and just really let go, like empty
Yeah.
of yourself. And when you
Yes.
do, like something comes through and things change, and you're not trying to make them change, and you're not attached to whether or not they change. And that's not the point of why you did it, right? You
Right.
did it because you had the wisdom to recognize, oh, I'm not in control of any of this anyway. So just
Yes.
let
Yes.
go and magic happens. I mean, miracles happen. I can tell you the stories in my life of when I've done that. So when she said that, I like felt that there would be who knows what, right? I think what I've been shown about what's coming is there's a global like electric storm is how they make it
Yes.
look, that
Yep.
it's an energy wave coming through the universe and it sort of
Yes.
hits us and moves through. and we're either aligned in the way where that moves through, or we're like not, and it's perpendicular and it's like crashes in and disintegrates everything.
And
And
also
yeah,
causes a bunch of disease and trauma and stuff to come to the surface immediately.
because it has
Like
to purify.
yes, where
Yeah.
some people's immune system, they may pass or choose to take that exit point.
Yep.
Ooh, how about that?
That's going to happen.
Choose to take that exit point because the physical body won't be able to withstand the amount of toxins and density that so immediately begin to release,
Purify.
where many of us have been doing it for years and years and
Yes.
lifetimes.
And
So
and they know that once they're out of the body, they can also help some of us like purify some
that's
more a little
right.
bit, right?
Totally. Good
Totally
point.
ulcers. They're not just like dipping out, like
We don't get to be a part of the ascension when
yeah.
that is so not the case, and thank you for
No.
bringing that up. And
Yeah,
they could
they're
also
still
reincarnate, in which this matrix is really good at supporting us in doing. Okay,
yes.
he's constantly coming back.
Well, and some
So,
people are saying that to me too. They're like, well, what if I don't want to live through that? I'm like, I think you do, or you wouldn't be here, right? I'm pretty sure you wanted this. I know it seems
yeah,
crazy, but here we are. I think it will be easier than we think in a lot of ways. That's often the case when we're looking forward at possible trauma or chaos or crises. We're like, but
yeah,
once we
we
go through it,
brace
we're like,
ourselves.
okay, I mean,
And if
that
we
wasn't,
do not brace, if we let
yeah, don't brace,
release,
let go. Yeah, let
yes,
go.
thank you,
Let
great
go
mother.
and trust. And it's not like a blind trust, like I'm going to jump off a cliff and hope I have wings. It's the trust that you just know, like if I keep being present, just moving forward, like things do actually work out. And I
Yes,
mean, you have to imagine this. Like, you just have to stop for a second. You have to say, like, the fact that humans exist on an earth in the first place is ridiculous.
yeah.
So if you think that Source couldn't like make that happen, right? That like Source couldn't make like miracles happen in the future. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think we can have some
And I
perspective
believe
here,
we
and
are the miracle.
we are the
Not just
miracle.
us, but even the people who haven't awakened, who will, or the people who humans are miracles.
Yes.
Even the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, they look at us as royalty. They see us as divine creator beings that were messed with on a DNA level and are
Yes.
recoding ourselves without any of their full crossing the free will boundary threshold.
Yeah. Like they're not doing it for us,
They're going to let us do it on our own.
which is
And they know we
incredible.
can because we're
Yeah.
that masterful. And
Right.
so they're not worried about us and they're fully here supporting us and we are going to do this.
I've
It's
seen
it's done.
Yep,
It's
it is
done.
done. So this is the other thing, and that was her message too, is like, essentially it is done. You don't have
It's
to worry
done.
about how it goes. You don't have to worry about whether you win or not. Like you've
Yeah.
won. You don't have to worry about if it works or not. Like it worked. You're just living through it in 3D. Like if you even asked your soul, like, do we win? Your soul's like, oh hell yeah. What? You weren't sure about
Mm.
that? Like, of
Mhm.
course we won. There's no
Yeah.
other option here. But again, on the way there, sometimes it doesn't look that way to us. We're like, well, then why did that continent fall apart? Or why did this,
Totally.
why did those people die? Or why did whatever? And like you said, there's a reason for all of it actually. And everybody really did choose it, whether we think that's true or not. And so
And we can hold that. And if that pisses other people off, that's fine. We
that's
also
cool.
honor that. We honor the way you feel about statements like that, that
Yes.
feel like people deserve it. That isn't how we mean it, even
No.
if it sounds that way.
Right. Yeah, and
So,
it's not, I have great compassion too. I know I just did this thing the other day. It was a couple weeks ago. I was in real 3D life plummeting towards Earth in a plane that I was sure, I was like, oh, we're dying right now. Like this is it. I
wow.
really thought I got to live through all the chaos, but all the ascension and all this, I guess that's not the case actually.
And now we're going out like this.
And
Wow.
now we're smashing in the ground at hundreds of miles an hour, and that's crazy.
God. Oh my God.
And I went through this thing where I was like, I was praying out loud. I was on the plane. Someone's screaming, someone else is crying, some guy's yells, "What the fuck?" Like he's angry at death, and I'm praying and loudly, and I'm praying loud, and I'm sitting there going like, I mean, that's cool. Obviously, like I've been out of the body, I've been to the center of the universe, I've had these crazy
Yeah.
experiences. I already know this doesn't, this is just not the thing, right? There's something
Yeah.
eternal, and so here I go back to it, and that's cool.
Right.
Some part of me
Right.
totally at peace with that. Another
Wow.
part of me was like clutching the seat
Oh,
and
I
like the
bet. Yeah.
prayers and like like I'm
Yeah.
very very attached to life, and I also got to like watch that side of myself and be like, yeah, I don't know if you can even turn that
That
off. That's your
off.
body, right? That like
That's right.
is
Yes.
programmed to
That's us
survive.
being in mastery of our human or animal body,
Right.
animated body, but not being a prisoner to it.
And
But
it's the same like
honoring
we're
that
saying,
both
right?
can,
Seeing
yeah,
both. Yeah, I
yeah.
see that. I'm also attached to life. I'm also sad when people I love die, even though another part of me is super
So
excited
we're
for
at
them.
peace and know
Yeah,
they're
I'm like just
okay.
like,
Yeah.
cool, good job, you. Like, I bet
Yes.
that's
Yes.
awesome right now.
Yeah.
And then the other part of me is very sad we won't get to hug, and I'm gonna cry, and I'm gonna wake up sad in the middle of the night, and I'm gonna accidentally write you a note and then remember you can't get it, and all the human things, but it is both. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can see the sadness of losing things, the hardship of what possible chaos might come, and also the fantastic opportunity for purification and upliftment. And I've been shown visions of this future we're creating, and it is amazing. It's
Yeah.
better than
Yeah.
we, I think, have even given ourselves permission to imagine. And I think part of that is because we have the dual mind, and it's hard for us to, how does that
At
actually
least
work?
stay
Or
there.
what's the logic of it? And it's like
Right.
we don't actually need to worry about that right now. Your
None bit. Yeah.
consciousness, when it changes so much that you can't imagine the thoughts and the experiences you'll have then from this perspective. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Very good point. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for being brave to go into some of these conversations with me, which are taboo, and some of it still not easily held even by some of the greatest love and light gurus. Okay, it
Yeah,
takes a shadow worker, it takes someone brave and someone who's fully locked in the code to see duality as both equal parts, not only choosing the good. And this is stuff that we all just have to keep talking about because we're all deprogramming ourselves from a matrix and reweaving our way into the one that was already there just waiting for us, this organic matrix. And so we all have a little piece of that puzzle and a little needle and thread of our own. And it's like a big giant community quilt. And so thank you for bringing your codes and your wisdom to the space. And I want you to share with my audience where we can find you and how we can work with you.
well, thank you for providing the quilt shop for us. And
You're welcome.
and I would love for people to check it out. If you go to rogueways.org, or sorry, it's roguesoul.org now. Both will actually take you there. Rogue Soul is my umbrella company of like my writing, my soul work, my show, everything is
Love
Rogue
it.
Soul. And so roguesoul.org is where the hub for all of that. You can book sessions with me there. You can see the books. Some of the books are channeled source message. Some of them are channeled inspired fictional trilogy, especially about where we've come from as humans in
Yeah.
this third dimensional Earth space and where we're not headed, but could
Yeah.
have headed, which is a really fantastic story of redemption. So if you're into
Mm.
fiction, you'll like those.
Yeah.
So the one-on-one sessions are there. I also have orgone in the shop. I make pillars, and
Oh, awesome.
uh,
I'd love to see.
this is just my personal
Beautiful.
one
Love
that I
it.
love. And so I make lotus votives as well. They're very unique. You wouldn't probably see them anywhere else, and they're very, very powerful. And so, if you want something for uplifting your space, like it's a great option. And I
Love
also
it.
teach classes. I don't know exactly when this might come out, so I don't know which class might be available, but I do teach people how to tap into their own spiritual healing and higher self channeling skills. I teach people how to be good with money. And I don't mean how
Love
to
it.
spend or not spend money. I mean the
Yeah.
spiritual levels of
With the spirit
accepting.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people are in this place again, in this duality where they're like, money is evil, greed is evil, having stuff is evil. And it's like, no, it's not. These things are all here to serve you and
Yes, it's so
everyone.
evil that only the reptilians and the Illuminati get to have it.
Right. They
How
get all of
convenient.
it. Yeah. Right. And also, like, wait, so are you going to be evil if you have money? You personally,
Right.
it's that same
Ooh.
sort of thing, right? You could imagine the ways you could go wrong, but why not imagine the ways you could go right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
And
very
so
important at this
how to get
time.
right on the soul level and how to work on the soul level with money. I just always think about, just for a second too, like if money has a soul, how does money feel when you're sitting there telling it it's evil? Like it's like, I don't
Yes.
want to
Yeah.
be evil. Why are you doing this to me? Like,
Yeah.
right? Stop
Imprint
creating
me with
that.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do
then
some, give me something else. I mean, there's Illuminati symbology all over the US dollars. But that doesn't mean that you can't turn the dollar upside down and turn that dark magic frequency into a light magic
Yes.
frequency.
Aren't you a
That's the
transmuter of
part that they
energy?
didn't know you were ever going to get.
Right. So transform it, absolutely. And then I also teach sound healing. And so part of the sound healing class is going to be helping people unlock their throat chakra and also unlock the soul song. So just like I do my soul song,
Awesome.
people
Very
will be able
cool.
to step into that. So I really like to empower people and give them the gifts that, they can go off and do it all on their own. Like my whole goal is that no one ever has to come to me ever again.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
we're all doing it for ourselves, and that's in the. And I'm not saying that because I don't want you to come. I'm just saying that's the goal, right? I want everyone to do it.
Yes.
So
Empowering
that's all
people.
there too on the site, and then links to my show, to my Substack, to my channeled writing. So I share the spiritual ancestors who are ascended masters who come through me, and I through writing share those on my Substack. So that's rogueways.substack.com, and I'd love for people to check that out too. Those source channel messages that are already in the form of books are essentially these messages that come through via the Substack. After a while, gather them all out. There's the next book, right? But in the meantime, you can just have them as they come through. So
Mhm.
that's all there too. I think that's everything. And I think that's everywhere you can connect with me. Of course, I'm on socials, but it's all over the
And I'll
place.
I'll put all these links in the show notes below, your website, Substack, all of these ways in which people can connect with you. And so I highly recommend everyone going and checking out Lindsey's work, connecting with her if you feel that resonance and that call. And thank you, Lindsey, so much again for being here, for sharing your story, for going into these shadowy places and shining a beautiful light on some of these topics that not many people are willing and brave enough to touch. So thank you so much. And thank you for incarnating at this time. Thank you, all of you out there, you light workers, star seeds, healers and mystics, awakened souls who are helping with the ascension process and who are wanting better for this reality and for humanity. I love you and I see you, and we will see you next time for another episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast.